Doctor's Journey Show. My name is Taria Hodge, and each week, the big question that we set out to answer is, how does the average entrepreneur like us, who started with limited time, zero marketing budget, or little to no online presence, get their authentic message into the marketplace and become a person of influence? And what skills must you learn? And most importantly, who are you required to become to magnetically attract your divine client and build a loyal following? And super achievers, I'm super excited because we have a special guest in the house with us tonight. So this handsome man that you see on the screen with me, that I have the privilege to introduce this evening, he is an influential African-American businessman, an artist, humanitarian, author, and innovator. He has over 40 years of experience impacting more than 10,000 business owners. His commitment is to impact the business world through economic justice. At the core of his approach to connecting Black businesses lies the idea that to succeed, Black businesses need to put their vision first and the well-being of their people rather than just the bottom line. Isn't that amazing? He is also the founder of the Black Business Olympics, and the main goal of the organization is raising scholarships and funds for students who are graduating from high school and going to college. Now, I'm going to tell you what I love most about him is his positive can-do attitude. And like he always says, every time we speak, everything that you are looking for is looking for you. Please help me welcome the godfather of the Black Business Expos, Dr. Eric Kelly. Welcome, 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 Dr. Kelly. I'm so excited.
Well, you know, I was thinking about this interview all day. I'm interviewed a lot, but I was thinking about the word influence. And many times people don't understand really what that word means. And what they think influence is, they think it's popularity. Who's more popular? You know, I could have tens or million followers, but when I ask for $1, do they give me $1?
Right.
When I have a conversation about doing something, do they participate? And I think many times people don't understand that influence means that you are giving somebody something that they want, because when you give people what they want, they will give you what you want. And thank you so very much, you know, for allowing me to be on your platform. You know, I've been watching you for quite some time. Dr. Madeline Ann Lewis turned me on to you, and she was telling me you were such a great influence on some of the things that she thinks about when it comes to influence. And so I went out and looked at your website. I went out and looked at, and this is what the young people do. You know, when you get my age, we don't look at much. We just like, here I am. But in this day and age, you have to take some time. And I say to many people, you know, if you don't know anything about me, I'm gonna say it like some of the great ones said, you can Google me. And many of the things that I've been doing over the course of my life, I continue to do.
Yeah, wow. And I love that you start off, you know, the conversation, you know, with the word influence. And so when I take a look at influence, the word influence, what immediately comes to mind is leadership. And definitely that was one of the main reasons why I wanted to invite you onto the Influencers Journey Show, because from the first time I heard about what you're doing, like you said, introduction came from Dr. Madeline Lewis. So shout out Dr. Lewis. Thank you, you know, for being a connector of great minds. And I too did some research on your platform, and I saw exactly what it is that you were up to in the world. And I said, wow, this is a person that I have to meet. I have to learn more about his mission, learn more about the vision, and then possibly find a way for us to link arms, because I do believe that there is a lot of great synergy, between us, and I love what you're doing with the organization. So yes, so when we think about the word influence, I think about leadership, and you are definitely a leader in your community. So thank you.
Well, and thank you for that. When I first started this journey, my grandmother, she was the catalyst for all of this stuff. I went to school on art scholarship, and she said that she saw a difference in me when I went to school on art scholarship. Well, I guess, when you go into school and you don't have to pay for anything, it's like, okay, what's next? And I didn't do what most typical guys or women did when they were on scholarship. And that is just to take this class, and take this class, and just get out. I treated college just like high school. So I was in class from, and I know many people can say, not really. I was in class from 8 o'clock in the morning to 5 o'clock.
Okay.
Every day. I mean, every day. And what I did was I put a 1 hour library between each one of my classes.
Okay.
So when 6 o'clock came and it was time to party, I was into the full-fledged, I'm having a good time. I had a 3.6, and all my friends would ask me, man, how you at every party? How you do? And it started from my great grandfather, who said to me, anything that you want to do, you have to be relentless. But the number one thing to do on the planet is to think. And always remember, if you give people what they want, they will give you what you want. And so my grandmother gave me the family car. But this was a boss move. And I didn't think about this until years later. She gave me the family car, right? Because I didn't have to pay to go to school. She said, okay, we'll give him a car. Then she went out and bought a new car.
For herself?
For herself. That was now, that's a boss move.
I was just about to say, I'm not grown up yet, like your grandma, to, go give my kids a car and then me go get another car. I do that with cell phones, though. So I give them the old cell phones and I get new phones.
But it was a boss move. And that's what and I didn't think about it till like years later, after I'm doing business. And I was sitting in my office. I said, my grandma was bad, man. She gave me because she bought a brand new car, not no little, just a car. She bought a brand new car because she was like, look, shoot, I got money now. I can buy what I want to buy. And that was influence on me. She was influence on me. And one of the things that I remember about her that really influenced my life was she walked into the kitchen one day and she said, I'm not going to smoke cigarettes again.
Okay.
And she took a pack of cigarettes, and she balled them up in front of me and my cousin, and she dropped them in the garbage can right in the kitchen. Okay. And she never picked up another cigarette. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And so as I've grown, those are the kinds of things that motivates me to do what I do. Because I tell people all the time, one of the challenges of our young people today is that the grandmother is 35 years old.
Ooh.
The mama is 16 or 17 years old. And so they don't get to great grandmama status. They don't get to because to me, real grandmother is 20 years your elder. Yeah. That's mother is 20 years your elder. And then 20 years, which is 40 years, is your grandmother. And I had the opportunity to meet my great grandmother, which is another 25 or 30 years, which as I was raised, I got an opportunity to go through all of that just to become all of me. And those influences that they put on me propel me to be who I am today. And I think sometimes what happens is there are some steps missing in some of our young people's spaces, and so they react differently than we react.
Yeah, it's interesting that you mentioned that, because I have to say that was one of the biggest challenges that I faced when I moved here. So I'm originally from the Caribbean, St. Thomas, and just like how you're speaking, that's how I grew up. I grew up with, mom and my dad, but one of my grandmothers lived upstairs, and my other grandmother lived across the street. So I remember as a kid, growing up, you would have those instances, when you kind of get mad with your mom and your dad and you think that you're running away. And I'd grab my pillow and I'd grab my blanket and I'd head up the stairs by my grandmother that was running away. But I didn't really fully come to appreciate that family structure until I moved on my own, lived stateside, and I too started my family. And I realized the importance of that, being able to have that type of living, that those many generations inside of the home or close to the home, because we're talking about that word, influence. And it definitely my grandparents, my great grandparents, because I knew my great grandparents too and grew up with them. They lived down the street. So they definitely shaped, who I am, today, and being able to pass those things on to my kids. And I remember, like I said, when I had my kids, that was the biggest difference. Being here in America, looking at some of the family structures, not all, but some of the family structures weren't the same way. And it was very challenging for me. And so one of the things that I decided to do is that I wanted to give my kids every single opportunity that I can to learn about their heritage, their other home, and give them opportunities to learn their grandmother, their great grandmother. So they too had the experience of, meeting their great grandmother, because yes, my grandmother was alive when they was born. And just as a caveat, just really, really briefly, like we're talking about this, I can't miss the opportunity to say this. So I'm a grandmother of two, and one of my grandbabies still lives at home in the Virgin Islands. And so she has the opportunity to experience my mom, which is her great grandmother. Yes. And I want to tell you, she has bypassed her mother. She has bypassed me and her other grandmother. And she latches on to my mother, her great grandmother, as her favorite person. So definitely when you talk about, influence, you talk about generations, you talk about family structure, that is what it's all about. So I'm happy and excited to hear that you were placed on this path with such great influence. And the person that you linked that to is your grandmother. That's awesome.
Yes, she was a bad girl. She's a bad woman. She's a bad woman. I can talk for days about her, because she was definitely an influence on my life. She used to say if she could change somebody's life, if she could help somebody, then her living wouldn't be in vain. Yeah. And that's been the family moniker. When you start talking about influence, and I want people out here to really understand the difference between influence and popularity. When you're popular, it's like a fad. But when you're influencing, that means that you're giving people something that they are looking to get. And my great grandfather, he was the guy. I never had a father, but he was the guy who wanted me to be a lawyer. And he said to me at 7 years old that every family needs a lawyer. As a matter of fact,
you got some greats in your family.
Well, I tell people I don't have a rags to riches story. I just don't. I mean, I hear people all the time, and they talk about how bad it was when they were small, and then they did this and they did that, and then all of a sudden they're this great person, and I'm sitting there like, everybody didn't go that road. My road. I was fortunate enough for my great grandfather to know what he wanted to see in our family. He was a wealthy man, and so when he wanted me to be a lawyer, and I said I wanted to be an artist. I started drawing at 4 in church. And he used to walk me from kindergarten to the courthouse on the way to going to his house. He lived close to downtown Durham. And so I would be sitting in there with him. That was his pastime. So when it was time for him to assert what he thought I should be, he brought these big books into the bedroom. He said, I want you to be a lawyer and you guys start reading these kinds of books. And I'm looking at the books like, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be an artist. And my grandmother had told me, who raised me, that I could be anything I wanted to be. And I believed her. Okay. Now, my mother was living in Washington, D.C. at the time. She had asthma so bad she couldn't work during the day. That's how I ended up being with my grandmother, who came to D.C. in the stillness of the night and stole the kid and brought him to Rockingham, Hamlet, North Carolina. And so, because she told me that, I told him, I'm a kid, I'm 7, that I wanted to be an artist. And finally, he said, well, if you want to be an artist, where's your artwork? So I go in the bedroom and bring my stuff out, like, with my chest out, here my stuff. And he was like, well, I see what you're doing, but if this is what you're going to be, we're going to have a conversation next month. And my great-grandfather would literally take 30 days and say he's going to do something. And that's what he did. And I'm like that today, you know? So when he came back, he said, well, if you're going to be an artist, you can't just give your work away. You have to have a museum. And you can only sell to collectors, because collectors will keep your work, protect your work, and know where it is. I don't know nothing about what he's saying, but as I got older, I realized when you start seeing people, they see your artwork, they're always asking you for a piece, and women always want you to do something free for them and all this stuff. But my great-grandfather had set in stone with me how I was going to move through this process, because he realized this is what I wanted to do. And so he actually took me to a museum in Washington, D.C. And because when he gave me the hall to put my work up, I took thumbtacks and little nails, and I had everything. It was looking real tacky. I'm 7 years old, so it was looking tacky. But he took me to museums, and then I finally saw how museums was framing their work. And then I had my grandmother to take me to thrift stores and places to frame it. And so it's just been a journey. When I tell people that I was in a space when I was a kid where my great-great-grandmother had 20 kids. My great-grandfather came to the party with 10 kids. So that's 30 kids that they had in Hamlet, North Carolina. And when we would go to family reunions, we would drive up this big hill, and there was houses sitting all. I never thought about it, but we had a little city going on back up in the woods. And we would eat, and each table we would go to would be the table for your age group.
I remember that too, growing up.
Yeah. And we don't see, this is one of the challenges that happens with our kids today. They don't see that. And one of the reasons I talk about the Black Business Olympics and the Black Business Network is I want to show people that all over the world are Black people in business, and they're doing business, and they are proud of the businesses that they are doing. And they want other people to know what they're doing so that they can build their digital footprint across the world.
Yeah.
And when I say that to people are like, well, you're doing it live. And I'm like, why not?
Yeah.
Because what I do understand is this. If you do the same thing everybody else is doing, there's no need to do it.
Yeah.
And when people like George Washington Carver had that one little peanut, and he said, well, I'm gonna make some more products with this. Everybody said, you can only make one product with a peanut. And he took and made over 300.
Right. Yeah.
And then when you look at Madam C.J. Walker.
Yeah.
Many people don't even understand the reason that we don't talk about the lady that Madam C.J. Walker was tutored under is because she married an advertising guy.
Oh,
Her
okay.
husband was an advertising guy. And so he created the Madam C.J. Walker whole persona.
Okay.
Nobody talks about him. We only talk about the woman. Nobody talks about him and how important that was. I tell people all the time, if you want to see advertising and marketing at its finest, study Madam C.J. Walker's journey.
Okay.
Read her book. Study her. I'm telling you, it's classic. It's like if you haven't, you talk
No,
about
I haven't read the book, and so I'm an avid reader, so I will definitely add
you're
that
gonna be
to my reading list.
you're gonna be shocked and amazed.
Okay. But I want to back up before we go any further, into the conversation. I want to touch on something that you just mentioned. And, the title of our episode tonight is The Future of Black Business, Inspiring Change for Generations to Come. You just mentioned something that is so important and so critical. What you just shared is your grandfather, when you were a little kid, wanted you to become a lawyer, but you had different aspirations and you had different dreams for your life. I see this a lot of times, and it's a challenge. It has been a challenge, for me growing up, and I try to implement things even with, my kids. How can parents, family members support or do more to support their children's dreams, even when those dreams and aspirations aren't what the parents desire them to be?
That's a serious question. And I hope your audience hear what I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because I could have done a lot of things, but my grandmother was a listener and a question asked. She was the why lady. Why did you do that? Why? Parents need to ask the kids, what do you like to do? And listen to what they say. See, one of the challenges with our kids today is they are pushed to be athletes, singers, dancers, strippers, criminals. All of this is called the entertainment culture. And many times our parents are looking out for our young people, but they're looking out for them in the lens of their eye and what they didn't get a chance to do and what they think their kid can do. And what happens is they miss the passion. Because no matter what happens and you push that kid down that lane, if the passion is not there, sooner or later, something's going to happen. See, right now, our kids are the number one in committing suicide right now. You got to ask yourself, why is Black kids the number one? Well, if you look at the bullying that our kids go through, if you look at radio, television, newspaper, and you see all of the things that are saying negative things about us, then you can kind of see the fence that they're on. And so when you start talking about where Black business is going, I have said many times since the pandemic, see, we didn't know this world existed. I never would have met you, okay, in the street. There's no way. Well, I'm not going to say I wouldn't have met you in the street, but I'm just saying 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't have met you in the street. I wouldn't have known that you were married.
Right, our paths would never physically cross.
Would not physically cross. Not only that, I would not be welcome into your space at all if we just depended on us being in the ring or in our own environment. And so when the pandemic hit, everybody was kicked out of the box. Not we just jumped out the box. No, we were kicked out of the box. And once we were kicked out of the box, Now we're in a whole new world of
Mhm.
meeting people all over the globe that we really didn't know existed. But for other nationalities, they've been in this space the whole time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so now that we're my phone, of course, now that we're in. Thank you for that. I should have
Okay.
muted earlier. But now that we're out here, now
Mhm.
they're trying to push us back in the box.
Yeah.
So my whole thing about our kids is that when they are not able to see people like you, people like me, people that are doing great things, then they don't see an alternative for their lives.
Yeah.
They don't see when they don't see an alternative, then they create something in their minds. Well, this is what I'm going to do. The
Yeah.
last place trophy really killed all of us.
You know, and it's so true because I even remember my journey. So and funny story. So I decided to step out on entrepreneurship. I think it was back in 2010. And at the time, my son was in his last year of high school. And it was very interesting because I remember one day he came home and he said to me that he wanted to be a tattoo artist. And in my mind, I was like, a tattoo artist? Like, what are you talking? No, you are not. That's not what I have planned for you. We did not go through all this blood, sweat, and tears to get you to the point of graduation for you to be a tattoo artist. And my son said something very pivotal for me that shifted, and I can't remember his exact words, but basically he watched me transition from my 9 to 5 and
Mhm.
step onto my journey and my exploration of entrepreneurship.
Mhm.
And it was that thing like, oh wow, what's coming out of my mouth and what I'm doing is two totally different things. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to find a way to support him in his dreams. So,
Mhm.
what does that look like? And so he's in high school. I know nothing, about tattoos except for getting one. I think at the time I probably had one tattoo. And all I knew, I paid for it. That's all I knew. And I had to go ahead and help him, like find information, the disclosure forms, insurance, and he's in high school. Because what I realized was he was watching what it is I was doing more so than hearing what it is I was saying. So I was talking, the talk of this is what you need to do. You need to go to school, get a 4-year degree, become this, do that, and then your life would be grand. But for me, my life wasn't grand. I went to school, I had my master's, and I was in a job that I totally hated.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay. And so that was my first inclination of being able, to be that parent, to be open. That's the word that I'm going to use, be open, because you are so correct. Your grandmother said it because my parents said it to me. You could be whatever it is you
Mhm.
want to be in the world as long as you put your mind to it. And so, why is it that we tell our kids that, and then our actions show them something different when it comes to our support in their dreams?
Well, I had a conversation with a lady. I do I do visionary meetings. And what a visionary meeting is the chance for you to discover your vision. Because at the end of the day, no matter what you want to do, you need to know what that vision for what you want to do is.
Mhm.
And what I realized a long time ago is that, you know, when you when you set something up, you can get it.
Mhm.
I'm going to be doing a conference at the end of the year, called your gray print, your red print, your green print, your blueprint, your green print, and your black print.
Okay.
And and what it's all about is really self-discovery about what you want to do with your life. Your gray print, I consider being your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is the part of you that does and finds everything. Like, my moniker is what you're looking for is looking for you.
Yeah.
I believe that. I mean, all my life, everything I wanted, it was looking for me. I found it and I was able to recognize it, because sometimes we don't see the signs because we're not looking. And your subconscious mind is on 24/7. It's going right now thinking about, how do I get you to where you say you want to be? But your red print is your conscious mind. And your conscious mind, sometimes it will take advantage of your unconscious mind and keep you from doing what you need to do to get to where you say you want to go.
Yeah.
Fear
I was just about to say, that's where your fear steps in.
That's where fear steps in.
Okay.
Not only fear, how do you show up steps in.
Yeah.
If you are a late person all the time, you always going to be late. If you don't show up, you're not going to show up. If you are a high caliber or excellent person, you're always going to be excellent in everything you do. So let's stop playing that game that, oh, I'm late today, when you always late.
Yeah.
But your red print is the lifeblood of who you are. Your blueprint is, what industry are you in? What is your industry? Now, once you figure out what your industry is, now you got to look at the top 3 in your industry and figure out, how did they do it? I'm not saying take away your creativity, because you can never do that.
But success leaves clues.
Yes. No, not clues. Paths.
Okay.
It leaves paths. Yeah, I mean, if you want to be Bill Gates, if you want to be, better yet, Microsoft, right now, let's say if you want to say, I want to be just like Microsoft, you can buy some stock in Microsoft's company, and Microsoft will send you their annual report that will itemize everything that they do as a company and a corporation. All you have to do is do the exact same thing that they're doing, the same way, and you could be Microsoft. But why people don't do that is because that pathway is a real pathway. It's not no guesswork, it's real. And we have to stop. And I'm not trying to tell people what to do, but people say I do it. We have to stop not looking at our industry first, and then allowing our red print to convince us that we want to do it our way. I don't want to do it.
We're gonna put a pin in that, and we're gonna come back to that, because that is that's worth unpacking. Okay, so continue, because I'm loving the prints. And
then you have your green print. Your green print is, how do you make your money off your blueprint? Period. Okay, we know what my industry is. We know what I'm doing. We know where we're going. I've done the research to figure it out. Okay, how do I make money off of the industry? Okay, that's your green print. Now, your black print. See, your black print is your wealth management. You notice I didn't say money management. I said wealth management, your retirement and your exit strategy. Okay. The reason that you start with your black print first is because it tells the story of where you're going to be in the end. The art of war is understanding what the end is going to be. We ain't worried about the beginning. If in your mind you're not thinking about wealth, what we doing?
Yeah.
If you're not thinking about your exit strategy once you get there, what we're doing?
Yeah.
If you're not thinking about your retirement and your next move, what we're doing? If you're not thinking about earning money while you're sleeping, what are we doing? And so that is really the part that helps our youth, is when we're able to say to them, like you say, your son is tattooed. Okay, who's the number 1 tattoo company in the world? Is he going to be a corporation that hires people?
Right.
Is he going to be a tattoo artist and run a business? Who's the top person? Okay, let's go ahead and research that top person. Okay, 9 times out of 10, the top person has a book. 9 times out of 10, the top person has a business. He's a public business. You can get all his information, everything that he does and how he does it, and then you can lay it out. And then you can look at your son and say, hey, what part of this do you want to utilize to earn your money from? Then he can sit there and say, Oh, well, I don't want to do this, but I want to do this right here. Okay,
Right.
let's focus on this part. Okay, well, I want to do it my way. Oh, that's fine that you want to do it your way, but let's earn some money.
Yeah.
That's what the green print is like. Okay, what we're doing, how we earning money on, well, how many tattoos do I need to
Right.
do in a day's time to make $100,000?
Yeah.
When people talk to me about business, my company used to be the branding agency for the largest African American insurance company in the entire world, which was North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company. Okay, they had a client named Dudley Products. Eunice Dudley had taken over for Joe Dudley. Joe still was doing his thing, but his daughter came in.
Okay.
And so they brought me in to talk to her. And I did some research for them. And the research was crazy because they had hair products. Okay. And so I did some research, and then I laid out a plan for any beautician to make $94,000 a year. Okay. You probably say, well, Dr. Kelly, how did you figure that out? Well, what I did was, because my great grandfather used to say, numbers don't lie. No matter, you need to know the numbers because numbers don't lie. You need to know, do you know the numbers? I was drawing and carrying on, and he said, well, how many pieces you drawing? How many pieces you painting? I'm like, I don't know. He would say,
I just want to draw.
That's all I wanted to do. But what I did was I counted the number of heads that a woman had to do over the course of a day, course of a week, course of a month, to get her to $90-something thousand a year. Okay. Now we know how many you got to do. Now, how do we add products to that to increase that number and create clients?
Right.
That is the part of business that sometimes we don't look at. We just look at
because it's the non-sexy part. And it's a thing, like we're talking about business, right? It's a thing that everyone has to learn. And coming in to entrepreneurship, I tell people all the time, please do not do what I do, because all I had was an idea. All I had was a feeling. I was running totally on emotion when I made the step onto this journey. I knew nothing about business. All I knew is that I was unhappy and dissatisfied where I was. And my thinking was anything that I do would be better than that. And I stepped onto this journey without a clue. But those are the things that I learned, the very hard ways. It's so much different from having an idea. And I think that's what it is. A lot of times people have an idea, or they discover that they have a talent, or they have something that they like to do, but that does not equate to a business. And so when you start to take a look at business, there is processes. I love the word that you use, blueprint. We say pathways, right? So like you said, you take a look at your industry. What are the successful people in your industry? What is it that they're doing? And then you create your pathway based on that, or studies.
And nothing is wrong with that. And it's not that I learned that when I first started out. Because I remember when I started Kelly Advertising, and my friends was working in what we call here in North Carolina, the Silicon Valley, IBM and all the tech companies was out there. And my friends was making like $35 and $40 an hour. So I opened up Kelly Advertising, and I said, well, if I make $45 an hour, I'm making more money than them. And they working out in the park, and they with the big boys. So in my mind, I thought that made me a big guy because that was my lens. But I found out early on that they didn't know what I was doing, because I was on television, radio, and newspaper. And so when I said I was going to open up my advertising agency, people came and brought me jobs. And so I got like 50 or 60 jobs to do, but it's only two people in the office, my secretary and me. So guess who's doing all the work? I am doing all the work. Okay, so I'm laying out, designing the whole bit, logos, the videos, and everything. Okay, but I realized I didn't have time to do all the work.
Yeah.
So I asked myself, I said, well, you're doing something wrong. And so I shut my office down and I went to the library to study advertising. And when I found out that advertisers was working just like lawyers and doctors on retainer agreements, that was a game changer for me.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I found out about what is the mission or the vision of your business. What is your business? And when I found that out, then I was able to tell all the clients that I had there working. A lot of these people was my friends. We talking about, come by the house, hang out with you, shoot ball with you, shoot marbles with you 9 times out. These are your friends. How do you tell your friends that you can't do the work that you told your friends that you gave your word to because you come from integrity, that you can't do their work? And so what I started telling people was this: if I can't retain at least 40 hours of work from you, then I can't do business with you. If you're not a company that's going from your local marketplace to a national marketplace to an international marketplace, then I can't do work with you. I changed my name from Kelly Advertising to Kelly Worldwide, and then I called people. And then I told people, because my hourly rate went from $45 to $145 by reading about what the major advertising agencies were charging. And I still say this today to all business owners. And if you listen to me, please, please, please remember this. Stop taking your value and devaluing your value. If you're doing the same job as somebody that's making more money than you, you need to charge the same rate that they are charging. Yeah. And many people would say, well, no, we got to start from the bottom and go to the top. Okay, why is it that when it comes to us, we have to start from the bottom and go to the top? But
well, unpack that, because unpack it right here, because like I said, these are the things, because once again, like I said, when I started, I had no clue, and I was of that mindset as well. Well, oh, I'm just starting out.
Yes.
So I can't charge XYZ. Nobody knows who I am. So this is too much. And oh, if I charge this much, then no one would want to work with me. I wouldn't have any clients, all of these things. So go ahead and unpack that.
Now, and I'm going to tell you what happened to me. Okay. I moved and started telling my clients, okay, I could only work with you if you do 40 hours. That's 145, which is about $7,000. Okay. So if you're not doing 40 hours a week, I mean, I can't get 40 hours a week from you, then I'm not doing business with you. Okay, some people would say, well, then what happened to everybody? Well, this is the thing about business. And then I'm gonna really unpack it. I'm gonna get right down to the nitty-gritty. What your value is to the marketplace, somebody wants that value. You can spend your time giving away your talent, and there's somebody sitting on the shelf waiting for your talent. When you understand there's 8 billion people on the planet, it's 8 billion. It's 8 billion. You have to understand who your client is. And when you understand who your client is, these problems don't happen, because many people talk about demographics, but they don't know about psychographics. And psychographics is, how does your client think?
Yep.
Okay, if I'm in advertising, okay, and I'm going to do a commercial for you, okay, listen to all these jobs I got to do as a person just to do your commercial. I got to do the storyboard. I got to do the script. I got to do the music. I got to select the cameras and get the camera crew together. I got to edit it. I got to manage it. I got to sell it. And then I got to report to the company how much money I'm charging for it. And then I got to look at the company and see what the value of the job I just done. That's 9 things.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what we do is we walk into the door and we trying to give a deal. Okay. We're trying to give a deal, but we're doing 9 things. Okay. How did you come by having those 9 talents to do that work? That means you went to school,
Yep.
you're going through the process,
Yep.
and now you're in a position of doing the job that somebody is asking you to do. So you have some value there. So when you take your value and you push it off the table to do a deal, you are cheating you. You're not cheating them, and you're not helping them. You are cheating yourself. So when you understand when the market is doing a commercial, let's just say a logo, is doing a logo for $2,500, and you do a logo for $50, and then you just happen to draw that logo, but you didn't do a logo search, and you didn't do the necessary things, and then that person put the logo on all their stuff, and they get sued, and whose reputation gets the hit? Does the person that did it or the person that created it, who gets the hit? You get the hit. Now, to really break it down for those who didn't hear nothing I said, you remember, you know Oprah Winfrey.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Oprah Winfrey, what's the name of her magazine?
Oh.
Oh, right? Okay. You can go, people go look it up. When Oprah Winfrey did her magazine, it was called O. She put O on her magazine. She started doing advertising and everything, and O was on her magazine. She did O for 2 years. And a group out of Germany called her up and was getting ready to sue her because she used their name.
Yeah.
Guess what happens?
Did she have to buy it? Did she buy it back?
She had to pay them because she did not do the research. Now, hold on, was that Oprah's fault, her people's fault, or the agency's fault? Whose fault was that?
The people who she hired to do the work.
Damn. And so that's what happens to us a lot of times. We don't take the time and understand that there are 5 levels of business. Number 1, worker bees. Number 2, management. Number 3, CEO. Number 4, the business. And number 5, profit.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's where your lawyers are in profit. How we making profit, And so when I begin to talk to clients about doing logos and media information, I say to them, that's why it costs this much, because I got to do a logo search. I do your logo, give it to you, you get sued, you're mad at me. Okay, which means that you didn't pay me enough for me to go the last mile. I did a logo for a friend of mine. I will never forget it. And I know I gotta let you ask more questions. I did a logo for a friend of mine, and he was in the pharmaceutical business. And so I did the staff with like the snake and the wings and everything. I didn't check. I knew I could get away with that. Then I put it on a briefcase. And the briefcase that I put it on, I separated each corner. So it was like a little line between, so they was divided, it's 3. I'm trying to explain to people what it is so they can understand where I'm going. So the briefcase had 1 in the middle and 2 on the sides. And so we were talking, and I said, well, we got to do I'm not going to do a logo. He was a friend of mine. I said, man, you got to do a logo search, man, because you ain't paying me enough money. So, I'm just doing the design part. So he goes out, he does the logo search, comes back, man, we can't use it. I said, what? It's not possible. I created this. I know it came out of my head. It's not, I'm talking because, I'm paid, right? He said, well, we can't use it. We can't use it. And so I said, well, I don't believe that. So then I did a logo search. Now, guess where this briefcase was?
Well, I heard you say a staff with wings. Is it like in the medical profession?
It's a medical profession, but where was this briefcase that I designed? Where do you think?
Oh, I don't know.
The briefcase was the icon at the airport.
Oh,
you see that briefcase where you go to get your luggage?
Yeah.
I'm a guy that do a lot of flying, right? I do a lot of flying. So in the back of my head as an artist, I saw it, but I won't pay attention to it.
I was just about to say, so it goes to say that no thought is an original thought. Every thought comes from somewhere, whether you recognize that it came from somewhere or not. Every thought comes from somewhere.
That is why it's important for you to deal with the blueprint.
Yeah.
Because you can sit here and say, well, I want to start my own company. I want to do it my own way. And I want to do this and I want to do this and I want to do that. And somebody sitting over there said, man, you know, that's the same thing I said. I'm a billionaire. That's the same thing I said. But it took me 10 years to get past that thing that I said. Because what I said was something that didn't work. Now you're going down the path of something that didn't work. Takes you 10 years just to get back to the point of let's do some real business. And so that logo right there really let me know that the reason that you ask for the money that you're asking for is because there are levels to business.
Right.
You know, like you say, you started out, you didn't start no different than most people. The question became, once you got into doing it,
was I going to stay at that level or was I going to grow?
There you go. And that has always been the challenge. And when you start talking about where Black business is going, we have got to begin to understand that if we have $11 billion, $11 trillion. I'm sorry, Black people, I took your money. $11 trillion in our community, and everybody's attacking our community to get that money from us. Why don't we take some time out and say, hey, why don't we spend money with each other?
Yeah.
And that is what the Black Business Olympics is laid out for us to kind of at least get a part of that money. Because we're never going to get all of the money because we don't control all the marketplaces in our community or in anybody's community. But what we do control is the businesses that we run. You know, the biggest challenge that I believe in the world right now is we sometimes don't stand on the shoulders of our ancestors and listen and see where they were going. Because I truly believe the work that I am doing is Malcolm X's work, is Martin Luther King's work, is Marcus Garvey's work, is Fannie Lou Hamer's work, is the people that started out saying, we want to show Black people all over the world in their greatness and being equal and being excellent. That's all it was about. It wasn't about we want to dominate white people. We want to dominate this group. Remember, the guy who made the element for the light was a Black man. Think about that for a moment. We turn the light on every day, but the guy who got credit was Thomas Edison, but the guy who did the element of the light was a brother. Yeah. So you have to understand that it's not always about who gets the credit. It is about the results. Because at the end of the day, where would we be without lights?
Exactly.
And I used to say, where would we be without electricity, until a young man by the name of Maxwell Chibutu, I think that's his last name, and I'm going to go back and Google his last name so I can see it right, because I know I'm probably chopping it up. But this guy has created an apparatus, a machine that runs on radio waves that can light up a whole house.
Oh, okay.
He's created an electric car that's a real live electric car on this same apparatus that he created.
Okay.
He's created a helicopter that can fly on radio waves. Now, this is the key for all the young Black people. This is only for y'all youngins. I wanted to say it to you now. Ask yourself, what school did he go to learn this? He didn't go to no school. So where did this genius come from? Right in his mind. And what young people need to understand, that they have genius in their mind that's waiting to come out, but they're boxed in with the idea that they can't do it because they can't do it. Or they can't do it because they haven't done it. How did the George Washington Carver, who had that little peanut, create over 300 products? What school did he go to? Okay, so sometimes when it's business, and sometimes when it's thinking, and as I said, even though you came out and you did it your way, and then you decided you was going to take the time and learn it as you was doing it, all that is genius. That is something that's been in you all your life. and didn't just show up. Maxwell product is so powerful till he can't get it patented in the United States of America.
Yeah. But it is that thing, like you say, it's the dedication, the commitment, the follow through. So once you have the idea, how are you really, putting together all of these things? How are you shifting? How are you growing? What are you, and that's why we ask the question, who are you required to become, to be the person, to be a person of influence, to be the person who holds the vision, because all of these things, are required. So yes, people have ideas, all the time, but what is it that you're going to do with your idea? Is it just going to be an idea, or are you going to act on the idea and then turn it into a business? And if you're turning it into a business, what is required?
Well, when people ask that question, I always go to breakfast, and that's eggs and bacon. And grits, okay?
Oh, I never heard the grits. I thought I knew where you were going when you said the eggs and the bacon.
Well, the grits,
but I've never heard of grits before. So
the grits is the icing on the cake. Okay, so there were two animals involved. One was a chicken, and one was a hog or a pig. Okay, the pig gave it all the way up. He had to go in and give you everything. The chicken just stopped by, dropped a couple of eggs, kept on going, and guess what he's gonna be doing tomorrow?
Right, dropping more eggs.
A couple of eggs and keep on going. Okay. Grits. Think about it now. Grits is what kind of grit do you have in doing what you're gonna do? That is the relentless on how you're gonna do something. Because think about it for a moment. If you say you're going to go in business and you don't know the industry, how are you going to earn?
Yeah.
How are you going to retire? Yeah. How are you going to have wealth if you don't? In other words, let's say this black shirt I got on. Okay, I want to create more black shirts. Okay, but I don't go to school. I don't learn nothing about black shirts. All I'm doing is going to the Goodwill, collecting black shirts and sell them. But in my mind, I want to create them. If I want to create them, I got to learn the entire industry first. Okay, that's what the hog do. That's what the pig do. Okay, the chicken say, well, you know what? Them shirts you're trying to create, I'm going to call somebody up and have them dropped off to everybody so that they can have them black shirts, but I'm not creating them. Okay, so in business, we have to look at, are we actually doing business the right way, or are we doing the business as I coined two phrases since the pandemic. One is I-preneur. Are we I-preneurs? Is everything revolving around us?
Yeah.
And do we have a real team? We don't have no team, we're not in business. I'm sorry, people. If you're in business and you're an I-preneur and you have a stroke, your business is done. Okay, if you die, your business, if you're an entrepreneur, your business is done. Okay, but my other coin phrase was an emotionalpreneur. That means that the way that you do your business is on how you feel. Has nothing to do with the marketplace. It's how you feel. It rained today. Oh, well, I'm not going to work today. Me and my boyfriend got into an argument. I don't mean I have a boyfriend. I better make sure that's clear. Because this.
We're in. I was just about to say. So we're in that day and time where
we're in that day and time. But me and my significant other gets in an argument, and I'm depressed all day. I don't do no work today. I'm going tomorrow. Okay, I got to take a day off because I'm upset.
Yeah.
Emotions play a very, very key part in our lives. And sometimes we allow our emotions to keep us from money. Yeah. And I talked to a young lady earlier today, and she got a new promotion, and she said, oh, I know there's a whole lot of people mad at me. They just so mad I got the job. I said, no, they're not mad. And you shouldn't have the attitude that they're mad. They're disappointed. And they're disappointed because you're making some money that one of them want to make. I say, you still are in the power position. You still can hold your head up and do your job. without worrying about the anger that you put on the table for them to be, because they really don't care nothing about you. And she said, I never thought about it like that. I say, that's because we get so emotional in what we do. Think about it for a moment. You're doing a great job, and they bring in somebody else, and they tell you to train that person, and then they put that person in front of you. What is the first thing that you do? Cuss everybody out, get mad, and walk off the job.
You know,
Okay, let me ask you a question. What happened to your bills?
right. Exactly.
What happened?
Still there. But you know, oh my gosh, so much for us to unpack. I definitely see a second show, a second interview.
Time has gotten away from us.
Oh my goodness, because you talk about the emotional part of it. I can't wait for you to meet the other half of the influencer's journey, which is Suzanne Hart. You haven't met her as yet, and that is right down her alley. Mindset, and everything is mindset. And I'll just say this before we wrap it up, and I'll let you tell us a little bit more about the Black Business Olympics and what's coming up for the Black Business Olympics. But you see what you talked about right there, that is like the number one thing that people struggle with, coming from a 9-to-5 environment over to entrepreneurship. And so when I worked a job, it was always that scarcity mindset. Now, back then I didn't know it was scarcity. I know now. You're thinking like, oh, if I train somebody to do my job, then I'm going to lose a job and I'm going to be upset. You know, wrong thinking. You want to have a replacement, because once you are replaced from that, you're freed up to go do something else. Okay. And
get
so
a raise. You can actually get a raise.
Yeah. And so that's one of the things that I didn't understand working on my 9-to-5. I had that mindset then, but coming over here, I'm just like, ooh, how can I get all these things off my plate? Because once these things are off my plate, it frees me up to go ahead and do more things. It frees me up to grow. And so
that's a key word. I want your listeners to, you talk about influence, but that word grow, that is a hard word to deal with, because in growth, there's something called change. And when things change, you can either change for the good or the worse. Okay, so, but you have to, as my great grandfather used to say, you get what you set up, buddy. Now, what did you set up? If you set it up right, when you do growth, things get better. If you don't set it up right, which means you don't study your industry, you know, the new thing, emotional intelligence. It's the new thing, emotional intelligence. I'm like, no, you know. Before I get out of here, I gotta say one thing.
Okay.
Sometimes people be running businesses and they come up with these ideas. And I had a lady to call me up and say she was a dream counselor. She can she can listen to your dreams, and then she can tell you how to run your business. And the reason I brought that up is because I can't believe that there's a such thing as a dream counselor. You know why?
Why?
Because you don't know what's in my head when I'm dreaming. You might speculate that you think that what I'm dreaming is what I'm dreaming, but you don't know what's in my head.
Well, hopefully she has a pathway and a process that would allow her to understand dreams and help people develop a business. So I don't know, because I hear interesting titles. Okay. I hear interesting titles, and it just goes back to what you were talking about. So the main thing that I took away from that, if she is in the coaching industry, you know, who are the great coaches? Who is she, you know, studying under? Whose process is she looking at? Whose pathway is she looking at? She call herself whatever it is she wants to call herself, right? But does she have the blueprint?
And that's what kind of messed her up when we was having a conversation. I was breaking her down. She was like, well, that's not how I do it. I said, okay, thank you. Okay, no, where the credibility at?
Yeah,
You know, what are we doing? Are we making it up as we go, or what we
right.
doing? How much does this cost? But again, that's not why you brought me today. I want to thank you. I know our time is run its course. The Black Business Olympics, one of the largest business showcases in the history of the world, as we have speakers from all over the world, people you just won't meet. You know, our moderators and anchors may be from Singapore, Japan, Africa. Our speakers may be from Las Vegas, New York, DC, Jamaica. No telling.
The
And we,
Virgin Islands.
yeah, there you go, the Virgin
I'm saying
Islands. Yes, indeed. We do 7 days. And what we are doing is we're doing 7 days to transform your mind into thinking about business, but more importantly, to change the mindsets of our kids, to get them out of this whole entertainment culture and let them know that entrepreneurship is undefeated. They can become entrepreneurs, and to pull them away from this whole suicide. They say 1 in 1,000 Black kids are killing themselves. This is the teenagers, but they never talk about our 5 and 6 and 7, our 5 to 18-year-old kids that are killing themselves. And so the Black Business Olympics is a platform that allows our kids to really see us as Black people, because we hear that Black people cannot work together. And I am showing them that 145 speakers, we've done over 2,900 speakers, coming together, talking about business to other businesses and corporations around the world. And it's just amazing. When we started it, it was just an idea, and it was my idea. And my idea has transformed from just 1 month to now every month. We did quarterly first, second, then we did every other month last year, and now we're doing every month. And our goal is to do 365 days, 24 hours, Black business live on a network. And many people would say, Doc, that ain't possible. And then I look them in the face and I say, that's because numbers don't lie. We've already did 2,900 in the last 3 years. In the last 3 years, we understand that it only takes 1,885 people to actually do it. So our strategy is to do every other month. Do every month this year. Next year we do every 2 weeks. The following year we do every 3 weeks. The next year we do every 4 weeks, and we'll be where we are because we already did the numbers over the last 3 years, so that we understand that our mission is already done. It's how you repurpose it and how you set it up, as I said, to get what you're looking to get.
the blueprint. That's the word for this broadcast, the blueprint.
The blueprint.
The blueprint. Well, Dr. Eric Kelly, I'm going to thank you so much. It is always a pleasure, whether I'm talking to you in settings like this or we're talking offline. It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for being a part of the Influencers Journey Show. Like I said, we're definitely going to have you back. There's so many things that we talked about tonight, and we didn't even get a chance to touch on half of the questions that I had to ask you. So,
well, somebody told me the other day that I got to work on being a good guest, because it's rough. It's rough.
You were perfect. Everything that you shared tonight, was based and dripping with value. So thank you once again. On my behalf, Suzanne's behalf, and I know our super achievers who are catching us, if they're catching us live right now or they're catching us on the replay, I know they definitely receive value. So before we close out the broadcast, go ahead and tell everyone how they could connect with you.
See, you just reading my mind. You know I'm an advertising guy. You're reading my mind. First of all, I'd like to say to your audience, thank you so very much for allowing me to sit in this chair and say hello to each and every one of you. Just thank you so very much for that. Thank you for allowing me to share some of the information that I've gotten over the years from not just my family, but for living experiences. For those of you who would like to speak on our platform, many people ask the question, what is there a cost for us to speak? It's totally free. That's what my grandmother, how she started out. When we did our shows, she said she would never charge people to come, because when you're charging people to come, you're pushing resources away from what you're doing. So it's absolutely free. You can reach out to me at erickelly45@gmail.com or info@blackbusinessexpo1.com. Or you can call, as you see that number behind me. I know my head is in front of the 9090 and the 308. It's 919-308-9090. You can reach out to me there, or you can go to my email. For those of you who have never, ever heard of us, you can go to YouTube and type in Black Business Olympics, and it will come up everywhere. You also, for those who want to know about the Eric Kelly III Museum that my great-grandfather started for me at 7 years old, you can go to the erickellymuseum.org. You can go there also. Those are the places that you can find me at. And as I always say, what you're looking for is looking for you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. And once again, Super Achievers, thank you for joining us on another amazing show. And remember, know that you are brilliant, know that you are special, and the world is waiting on your unique gift. Take care until next time.